not that beautiful. But hey, now you can see it, and that's all that matters. Welcome to the Wasted Talent with Josh Beard, and I have two very special guests with me today. I have Cassidy McWha from the Hat Media and former Texas A&M defensive lineman, and also from the Hat Media, Jay Arnold. So, first of all, thank you very much, both of y'all, for coming on tonight. I really, really appreciate it. We've talked about, Jay, you and I have talked about like you coming on anything I do for a long time, and then I just forget about it. And so finally, you get to come on. But I appreciate both of you guys for coming on tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So tell everybody a little bit about the Hat Media, because I've been reading some of the stuff on y'all's site, and it's actually really, really good. I didn't mean to say that. I sounded like I was kind of slighting you guys. That's not what I mean. It's very good content. So tell everybody, Cassie, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about the Hat Media?
Well, the Hat Media started with actually just me and another guy that just followed me from basically a Barstool following.
Mm-hmm.
We both followed a lot of Barstool. And he reached out to me after I got laid off, and he was like, hey, why don't we just start writing that kind of content, just like whatever we feel? And I was like, I mean, I'm down. I have nothing else to do with my time right now. And so we both started just writing random things. And like, I write more of sports from a girl's perspective, I guess. Like, I write it in an easy to read manner.
Yeah.
And then I've known Jay just for a little bit, and we reached out to him after the other 98 and asked him to join along. And so we kind of just picking up all the misfits is what we call it.
Yeah, Jay's definitely a misfit. I would definitely characterize him in that category. That's for sure. Can't handle my Foursquare skills. We all know that. We've seen the video of it. And Jay, what's it like being able to go? I mean, obviously things with the other 98 didn't go exactly how it was planned, which was terrible because you guys were freaking awesome. But what is it like to go to be able to come into a place like the Hat Media, where I really kind of feel like you get to be yourself with the content that you want to produce for them? And obviously you're doing things all over the place too.
Yeah. So besides having a real job,
yeah, feel that.
The Hat has given me kind of a place to just write about whatever comes to mind. I mean, I've done a bunch of random shit. When I was with the other 98, it was kind of a similar deal where it was Aggie football or Aggie sports focused, but I would get to just kind of throw some random stuff out there. So really what I'm doing now is most of my A&M writing is going to be on Good Bull Hunting, which is the Texas A&M SB Nation site. And then for some of the stuff I was doing at the other 98, some of the power rankings, mailbag stuff, I'm going to start bringing that to the Hat, as well as some more overarching looks at sports, whether it's college football or MMA or basically whatever I'm feeling that week.
See, I like that, because the biggest thing I think in sports media and really in media in general is just like, it's changing. Journalism is not what it used to be. We're not the guardians of the wall anymore. But then specifically when you're talking about sports media and sports journalism and things like that, I think people take it way too seriously nowadays, where it's more kind of that short, that kind of a little bit medium to long form editorial style, where people want personalities built. It's not, hey, let me go get the news from these people that write about it. No, it's, let me see what Jay has to say, or let me see what Cassidy has to say about this today. And that's why, Cassidy, I like you being able to write from the female perspective, because it's a new perspective that most people who consume sports media and sports journalism are guys, and like, there's nothing better. Like my wife, there's nothing better than a girl, a female who actually knows her shit when it comes to sports. And there's tons of them out there. And it's like, we're so used to just being like, it's like a boys club. So seeing it from the girls' perspective, I think it's really, really good. So we got lots of topics to get to today. Obviously, I want to talk about Andrew Luck's retirement, because I haven't really gotten to talk about that yet. And I know both of y'all have opinions on that, some of the reactions to that. And then we'll give our big Texas A&M preview, because I need you guys to talk me down off of a ledge. Jay, I feel like you're going to try to make me jump, but Cassidy, I'm going to need you to pull me back down from that ledge, because I'm not feeling too good. I mean, the schedule is not even the only factor that's freaking me out. There's other factors that are freaking me out, but we'll start off with Andrew Luck's retirement. And I was out at a bar in Houston I don't even remember. The whole night was overshadowed by Andrew Luck or the leak that Andrew Luck was retiring, and then him announcing his retirement and doing the press conference afterwards. But what were y'all's? My initial thought was, holy shit, what's happening? But what were y'all's initial thoughts to seeing that Andrew Luck retired? Jay, why don't you start?
I mean, all right. Should we dive right in on Doug What's His Tits?
Doug Gottlieb. Yeah. Actually, I like Doug What's His Tits better. So yeah, let's go straight into Doug Gottlieb.
His real name.
Yeah. For some reason, I guess he was trying to steal attention like he steals credit cards. Here's the deal. He had no business saying that. I know he's trying to get his Skip Bayless on and just stir up everyone. So really, we shouldn't give him attention to begin with. But at the same time, I don't want to let that slip under the radar. It's pretty clear. I mean, I'm also just of the mind where I stopped playing football because of injuries.
Right.
So I get where Andrew Luck's coming from. Mine was a little more of a had to deal, but even still, like the rehabbing, all the stuff that goes along with it, it's incredibly draining, and people that haven't been through that don't really understand the process, especially in a game as physical as football is. And I mean, Andrew Luck's poured his heart and soul into the Colts franchise. Coming back from the injuries that he did was incredible. He always gave his best effort, and by all accounts, he's one of the nicest guys in the league. So coming out with a hot take like that, I mean, Doug Gottlieb knew what he was getting himself into.
Oh, absolutely.
He just thought he was going to be super contrarian, but he just comes across like a sour grapes, wants anything he can for attention.
You can say it, Jay. He came across like a douchebag. He came across like an absolute. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like, I still don't know. I mean, obviously, if my real job tunes into this,
well, I'll say it for you, like a fucking asshole. I don't know if that. Yeah, like he came across like a
piece
guy.
Of shit. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he came across like a guy who's never ever that's really ever had to deal with something like. Okay, so I've never been obviously an athlete at a super high level. I like to think that I'm really good, but pickup basketball at my neighborhood gym against 19-year-olds isn't what I would call high quality athletic competition. Although I'm very good at it and I destroy them, but that's beside the point. But I can imagine you have something, you work, and then it's all taken away from you and you have to start at square one. And then you work, and then it's all taken away from you and you start at square one. And at some point, just from a human standpoint, I have to imagine if I worked all this time on radio and then all of a sudden, I always thought about you in radio, you take care of your voice, right? I'm not pretty, so I don't have to take care of my looks. I can eat Whataburger every night and I'm fine. But in radio, it's all about the voice. So I always thought I have to take care of it. I have to make sure that I don't do anything crazy with it. And I always thought what the worst thing in the world, because I love hearing myself talk, would be to have my voice taken away. And what if I had to rehab my voice back? And then all of a sudden I get to that point to where I can finally do radio again, and then it's taken away from me, and now I have to work all the way up. That'd be brutal. That'd be so mentally exhausting.
The other thing that people don't talk about is not just the physical and mental parts of it. Well, I guess this is technically a mental part of it, but trusting whatever body part it is that you had to rehab again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Finding out, like, that first time you actually make contact, is my shoulder going to give out? Is it going to stay in place? That's one of the most nerve-wracking feelings you'll ever have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always tell people that my nerves, the first time I stepped on Kyle Field, were just out of control. But I think the most nervous I ever was that first full contact practice after my first shoulder surgery.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you don't, it's hard to really trust that it's going to hold up. There's no easy way to assure yourself because you just don't know.
Especially in a high compact competition like that, like you said, that with a sport that's as violent as football. And it's not even just it's, oh my God, I could barely get hit and it's gone again. Cassidy, what was your first reaction? Because, I mean, everybody was blown away by Luck's retirement announcement. I mean, it was just insane. But what was your first reaction to seeing that he retired, and then what he had to say and the reasonings for why he retired afterward?
My thing is, obviously, I haven't, played football at D1 school, so I can't.
You hadn't? No way.
I haven't. I know it's shocking.
Yeah, I know.
But so just him as a person, it's so funny to watch fans forget that they are two separate things. Like, he's married. He wants to go travel the world. Big whoop. That has nothing to do with you. Like, get over it. And I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. So
boo! I am too. I'm just kidding.
I'm from Dallas, but when Jason Witten retired, just because he was getting older, or Tony Romo from injuries, the same people that were bashing him most of the time ended up, turning over and saying they miss him and they hate Dak now. I just don't even understand how Indiana has any negativity towards Andrew Luck. Like, his whole timeline got pushed up. He didn't want to, have fans find out in the middle of a preseason game. You can tell that's not what he wanted. He was prepared, but not as prepared as he wanted to be going into it. It just seemed very unfair for him in all matters.
Yeah, and look, I can at least I'll take a second, and I can kind of see it from the Colts viewpoint for just a second. I'll try it, because I always try every time something comes up and I have a feeling one way where I very strongly feel like all those Colts fans that booed him were douchebags. I try to say, okay, at least let me put myself in their shoes, in their situation. And people are using the excuses, and I've thought of this, okay, what if you're a season ticket holder? Well, I doubt all those people at the preseason game are season ticket holders. Honestly, if I'm a season ticket holder, I'm probably not going to the preseason games. I'm selling all those preseason tickets because I want to recoup some of my money, and preseason games don't matter, especially when I get to go to any regular season game I want. But just from a fan standpoint of Andrew Luck's finally going to come back, and they look good at the end of last season, and they beat the Texans in the first round of the playoffs, and they're the favorites to win the AFC South by far, and the team's gotten better, and they're going to keep getting better from here, and they have cap space, and then to have that hope ripped away from you, I understand that. But that's more, if I'm the fan base, I'm angrier at the Colts organization and how they've handled Andrew Luck's career. And I'm not angry at Andrew Luck, because to your point, and I think this is the best point to make, a lot of times we forget that these are freaking human beings. Like, and Jay probably feels this more than both of us. But like, we treat athletes like they're out. I mean, they are a source of entertainment, but we treat them like they're just robots out there trying to entertain everybody. And they're not. They're human beings with thoughts and feelings. Like the whole thing with Jadeveon Clowney that's going on right now with the Texans. I've said this, and this is a good example. Yeah, maybe you don't want to pay Jadeveon Clowney a ton of money. Maybe you want to use the franchise tender, but what does that do to him mentally? And now we're hearing rumors that the relationship between him and the Texans is irreparable, and he's consulting teams for trades by himself. These players are humans. There's a human aspect to this where the dude, like Andrew Luck, he just wants to be a dude that's hanging out with his wife and kids when he's in his 50s and 60s and 70s, and he wants his body to be as good as it can be. He wants his mind to be in the best place it can be, and we forget that. Way too often we forget that they're humans. On top, they're humans just like us that are just trying to do the thing that they love. They just get lucky enough to get paid, or if you're a college athlete, never get paid and have your likeness essentially stolen from you. But yeah, I think that's one of the best points is he's just a dude that wants to be right for his family, and he didn't have fun with the game anymore.
And for the season ticket holder standpoint, he was already battling this lower leg injury. What if he went out the first game and tears his ACL, is out for the whole season? Are you going to boo him then? Your whole season's pretty much down the tank again.
Well, the Texans cheered for Matt Schaub when he had his Lisfranc injury, so I don't hold anything past fans at any point. I doubt they would have booed him, but that's a great point. Like, if he had an ACL injury and then he was like, look, I'm done. I'm beat up. I can't do this anymore. Nobody would have booed him. They would have understood. So why is this any different?
Dude, I do want to kind of get sidetracked here for a second.
Do it. I love being sidetracked.
I always talk about how Philly has the worst fans in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
But the thing is, like,
changed my mind.
Every fan base, for whatever sport it is, has enough, like a sizable portion, a significant enough portion of fans that are just garbage people, no matter what fan base it is.
No, that's absolutely true. Except for Aggie fans.
No,
we're fine. We're fine,
nope.
right?
You ever been to the Texas Ag's politics board?
Oh God, you mean propaganda? The propagandamachine.com? Jesus Christ! Like
It's a wild scene over there.
I bet it is. I don't think I'll ever get a job there because I just did a podcast this afternoon that's going to release tomorrow with my friend Paul, where I kind of actually talk shit about the Aggie fan base a little bit and how they annoy me sometimes and how it is kind of a cult. And then I called Tex Ags the propaganda machine. So I don't think I'm ever going to get a job there. I think I'm okay with that though.
I love the guys over there. Like I love what
they're great
Luigi
dudes
and Gabe and all those guys over there do. I think that it's just there's some of the fan base that is delusional.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely a topic that I want to get to in just a minute and like kind of tie it into the Texas A&M football preview because Cassidy had a great question last night on either last night or the night before on Twitter that I definitely want to bring up. But so Cassidy obviously having worked college media before, being in that journalist realm, how do you feel about guys or girls who have never played a professional sport and dealt with injuries at this level, sitting there and telling a guy he's a coward or that it's the most millennial thing ever? Like as a journalist, to me, and I know that like TV guys and radio guys, they're not journalists. I've said that about myself. I'm a pseudo journalist. I'm not really a journalist. We're entertainers before we're anything else. But from a journalism standpoint, yeah, we are just people, yeah. But from that journalism standpoint, how did that make you feel when you saw things like Doug Gottlieb? There's a guy at my old radio station, Rick Kamla, he's pretty new, and I thought, you know what, maybe he's a nice enough guy, and I was wrong on that because he tweeted out. And I absolutely just destroyed him for this. But he tweeted out, Andrew Luck is mentally worn down. Are you kidding me? That's weaker than Antonio Brown's helmet beef. There's a difference between retiring and quitting. What a joke. So he called Andrew Luck a joke and called him a quitter. And so like from a journalist standpoint, how does that make you feel to see people just trying to completely dehumanize and demoralize a guy in that moment?
I think just media, sometimes journalism, they just get too big for their britches.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like they think since they've been around it for so long, that gives them the right away to be. They've been like, say you're a part of one team's beat for so long, like longer than say the athlete that's there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these media guys like have it in their mind that they're more a part of this team and more in it than these guys who are actually out there breaking themselves.
Totally agree with that. So you know what I like. Look, I love all the guys in Houston media for the most part. There's a couple that they can go screw themselves, but for the most part, like 95% of them are all awesome.
They can pick up.
But some of the guys like that where they've been around for a really long time and they've been here longer than a lot of the guys that are on the team. I compare them to the old dude in small town high school football, where it's like the guy that's like 75, 80 years old, and he walks up to the high school. He's like, "Yep, we got a good team this year. Hope you boys really hold it down for us." You know what I mean? Which is like, yeah, you used to be a part of the team, but also shut up. But you have to kind of like smile and say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do fine. Why are you messing with me, old man?" That's what a lot of these media members are like. And coming from like having experienced that, I kind of get that feel where it's like, well, I've been covering this team for 5 years. You just showed up this year. How am I not as important as you? But at the end of the day, the media members don't matter at all. No. Like, we don't matter to the team. We don't matter to the sport. We're here. We matter from we frame arguments and we drive and push the narratives. But when it comes down to wins and losses and cheering for the team, people don't care about us. They just listen to us for entertainment.
We will not affect the outcome ever.
Right. Exactly. So when it comes down to a guy making a decision for himself as a person and on the football field, that's when I say, you know what? Good luck, Andrew Luck. Thank you for the game of football and all the great games you gave us. I have no opinion and no voice on this subject whatsoever. Even if I'm saying good for him, my opinion still doesn't matter, and I shouldn't voice it. But if I have a negative opinion towards it, yeah, piss off. Like all the people that had negative opinions towards Andrew Luck retiring and called him a coward and called him a quitter, they can all just go piss off for all I care, because that's just absolutely ridiculous. Hey, how as a player, how would that make you feel, Jay?
I said this on Twitter, but hanging up your cleats because of the toll that it's taken on your body, mentally or physically, all of that, hanging it up is one of the bravest things you can do. Mm-hmm. As athletes, we've been conditioned to tell ourselves to push through whatever we're dealing with, that no matter what the pain is or how much we're suffering, you just got to keep pushing through. So to fight against that instinct that we're just kind of ingrained with since we started playing, and to be able to hang them up is pretty admirable in my opinion. The other thing I want to talk about is Andrew Luck went through the worst part of being a football player. He went through fall camp.
Oh yeah.
Like he made it through. And he made it through all that, and he quit doing, like, I get it, it's 2 weeks before the season starts. That does kind of suck for the team. But it's not like he hadn't talked to the owners and the management at all about it.
Right. They knew. They knew 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they knew what he was feeling. Mm-hmm. They knew what the process was. So they had, like, it's a tough situation, but it's not like he just completely left them in the dark. And people that are commenting on it on social media have no idea what was going on behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah, and man, it's not like Jacoby Brissett wasn't also there preparing. Just like the backup quarterback's always preparing in case he has to be the starter and in case he has to take over. So it's not like they didn't have a quarterback there. It's less than ideal because Jacoby Brissett is obviously not Andrew Luck. But yeah, he went through the hardest part in dealing with the offseason and quit before the fun part. And I know my decision to leave radio the way I did not that long ago, after only 5 years, was hard. That was hard for me because I've busted my ass for the last 5 years, working 6-7 days a week, 12 hours a day sometimes, just doing everything I could to make it happen. And I finally decided to walk away and leave. But at least I still get to keep doing it in some way, like right now with you guys. Like there's a whole world where I can continue doing that. When Andrew Luck, who has been doing this his entire life, not just 5 years, he's been working his entire life towards this, and 7 years in the NFL at the highest level, where he's a guy who could break passing records. He's that good. He was once known to be a once in a lifetime talent, and when he hangs it up, he's never going to play again. I know everybody keeps joking around about the XFL, but he's never going to play again. He's done, and he'll never have that chance. And so I get to keep doing it, and that was a hard decision for me. He had to decide because he never gets to play again. Sorry, Cassie, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I was just saying he's too smart to play again. He knows that he's making the right decision. It may be hard, but he knows it's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. That's enough Andrew Luck. Let's get into the thing that I really want to talk about, even though the podcast that's coming out tomorrow is probably going to make every single Aggie hate me, and I'm going to be a 2%er for the rest of my life, whatever. I don't care. They can deal with it. Let's get into our Texas A&M football preview, because we got the first game tomorrow night, and I cannot even begin to explain how excited I am for tomorrow night. It's going to be a big deal. I'm on the keto diet, so I will have nachos, but it'll be pork rinds with cheese and meat on top, which is super weird, but it's better than nothing. I will have wings. It's going to be a great time. I don't know if you guys are going to be at the game itself. I wish I was at the game, but I'm not that cool. But this season, how do y'all feel about the Aggies going into the 2019 season? Because I can tell you, my feelings are mixed. So how do you guys feel going into this season?
Jay, you want to go first?
I guess I can take it. I don't know. No. Like, it's a mix of hope and despair.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Like, I mean, I think this is where people that are into astrology would tell me it's my nature as a Libra to kind of look at everything and weigh out all the options. I just wanted to get that reference in here on this show.
Yeah, the astrology hour with Jay Arnold.
No, but I mean, you look at it. This is an incredibly talented Texas A&M team but it is one of the most difficult schedules the country has ever seen. I mean, you have to look at it both ways. You have an upperclassman quarterback, an offensive line with a lot of experience, wide receivers who have been in the program for a while.
Yep.
And, there's question marks on offense, but it seems like there's enough talent that they should be able to make up for it. I mean, your question marks is how is Jay Corbin going to be able to replace Travion Williams? Tight end, obviously, with Baylor Cupp going down with an injury before the season started. He was the one that was expected to replace Jay Sternberger's production. So how are Jalen Weidemeyer and Glenn Beal going to step up? And then defensively, you have a few more questions, particularly at linebacker position. But there's a lot of talent there as well. I mean, Buddy Johnson had a decent bowl game, and then Anthony Hines should be back healthy.
Right.
The defensive line is as deep as any in the SEC.
I love the
which
defensive
is
line.
Impressive.
I think that might be the position I'm most excited about to see.
I think punter is the position you got to be most excited about.
Well,
but
that's true.
When you have the returning best punter in the nation. I mean,
I'm actually have a shirt that should be delivered in a couple of days, and it just says "manhandled" on the front. And and I'm gonna wear it for every single game.
With two ends.
Yeah, with two. Yeah, absolutely. Two
and
ends.
An absolute piss missile.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna. You know what? I need to send it back. I need to have that written on the back. It's gonna be manhandled and an absolute piss whistle on the back with just like a football streaking across the shirt.
Shout out to Pat McAfee.
Yeah. Cassie, how are you feeling? Are you feeling the same way? Is there a little bit of hope with a little bit of despair? Is there a little bit more hope? Because I told you it's up to you to pull me off the ledge, because I'm leaning more towards the despair.
It's impossible for me to start a season not hopeful, just because it's a fresh slate, and coming, I'm still off that LSU win. It was so great. Like, there was so many glimpses of glory going on. But I did see a tweet the other day that made me laugh, and it said, whatever team beats A&M by the most wins the Natty. And that's how hard our schedule is, basically. Whichever team does the best against us is who's going to win. So
that's funny, but in a way that makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
I think the best way to temper the amount of hope you have before the season is to listen to the sound of silence.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I'm going to have my daughter sing it to me every night. Actually, I'm going to have her sing it to me. I'm going to wake her up after we get done with this so she can sing me to sleep singing that song.
It's a great lullaby.
It's better than like all the like Ring Around the Rosie where it's just people dying, which like almost every lullaby ever created.
Shout out to the Black Plague, right?
Yeah.
The tree.
Yeah, big pogs to the Black Plague. So Cassie, you had a question on Twitter last night that I think I had this discussion not that long ago with somebody, and I've had this discussion before. But you put a question on Twitter that said, would you rather your NFL team be the worst? And we can apply this to college teams or any team. Shout out to, talking about hope, shout out to Luka Doncic, our Lord and Savior. And we're going to have Cassie, if you'd like to join it, I think it's 1 month or one time each month during the basketball season. We're going to be doing a Wasted Talent special called Doting on Doncic, but just thought I'd plug that real fast. It's just everything Luka Doncic all the time. Anyway, your Twitter question.
Get some hockey talk?
No, come on, man. I watched hockey one time in 1997 when the Stars won, and I wanted to be the next Darian Hatcher, but they don't have ice in North Texas, so I didn't get to do it. So your Twitter question was, would you rather
have ice? You just have to pay a real premium to get on it.
Yeah, I was a poor kid, so yeah, there were no premiums that were going to be paid. So your question was, would you rather your NFL team be the worst and never have hope, aka Detroit Lions, or would you rather they're always average and you have false hope every year? And I replied to this and I said, the life of a Texans fan. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh shit, that's kind of Aggie fans too. And that's kind of been my life as a sports fan in general, is my teams are always average or above average, but never good enough to win. And then I have false hope every year that they're actually, quote, title contenders. There's only been 2 times in my life where a team that I've cheered for has been legitimately good enough to win a title, and that was the Mavericks in 2006 when I wanted to throw everything at a TV that I was watching Dwayne Wade celebrate on, and then the Mavericks again in 2011 when they actually won with Dirk. Every other time has just been false hope. But that being said, I would much rather choose false hope and then be let down at least like I get like 5 or 6 weeks, maybe a little bit more of, hey, maybe this can happen. Like the Texans last year is kind of that way, where all hope was drained from us when they went 0-3, and then they rattled off 9 wins in a row, and then obviously they sucked at the end of the season and then lost to the Colts. But I had 9 weeks where I was like, holy shit, they could win a thing, and then they didn't. So I want to ask both of you guys, would you rather have the false hope but the team's average and you get let down? Or would you rather be the worst team and never have hope and never have it built up to be destroyed?
See, I like the false hope, but it's also all I've ever known. I'm an Aggie fan, and then the Dallas Cowboys, last time they won a Super Bowl was 2 months before I was born. So since then, we've basically been 8-8 since I could know football. So and every year, like especially last year, though, like it was really fun, but the losing hurts so bad when you believe that this is the chance. And then you see like the years of the Cleveland Browns when like, hey, if they win a home game, we're gonna buy everyone beer. Like, is that fun? Is that a fun life to live?
It's almost like ignorant bliss. When I was on I was on Paul Gallant's podcast tonight, and he talked about the difference between, and this is where we got in the conversation about Texas A&M. We talked about the difference between Texas A&M and Texas State, because he was making fun of Barstool A&M for posting that picture about the Forbes rankings. And he was talking about how people at Texas State are way more fun than people at Texas A&M. I said, yeah, they're way more fun because they're ignorant and stupid. They couldn't get into the good school. Like, that's why they're like, it's them and Texas Tech are the 13th grade for all Texas high schools. That's how it works. And that's why they have more fun, because they're too dumb to realize that they're just drunks. And that's kind of what it's like having that hope, like the ignorant, blissful hope, only to have it shattered later on. At least for a while, you're ignorant to the fact that everything's terrible. And there's a few weeks where you're like, oh shit, we beat Kentucky. We might actually have a chance at a national championship. Or, oh my God, only a pylon stopped us from beating Clemson. If it weren't for that damn pylon, we might have won a national championship. But the reality is Alabama's still there. And you would have had to play Clemson again. You're never going to beat them in big moments like that.
But Bill's Mafia, they're just going through
That's
tables.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
That's maybe so true. You should just go to games and just drink and not care about the outcome and be happy if they did decent. Like, I don't know. What's the other side like?
I think you may have just
team to ever suck.
I think you may have just shattered all of my arguments about about having the hope, because with the Bills Mafia argument, because they're just like, fuck it, who cares, let's drink.
Bills Mafia has so much fun. Like, I legitimately want to go just because of how ridiculous their tailgates seem.
Well, it's like, what else do you do in Buffalo, right? Like, you eat wings.
Watch hockey.
You watch hocky. You know what? Maybe I'll have
the Sabres are just as bad, if not worse, than the Bills.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Maybe what we can do for a Wasted Talent special is we could do a Jay explains hockey to Josh, where you try to explain it to me. And you'll explain it to both me and Cassidy, as Jay tries to explain hockey to Josh and Cassidy, and then we're just like, okay, so why aren't we watching football right now? That's going to be the whole thing.
Because you can't drop the gloves in football.
Oh, that's true. Sometimes I wish you could. That'd be fun if you could.
Andre
see fights
Johnson
in football.
tried to.
Yeah, he did. Well, he did drop the gloves on Finnegan. So let's run through this schedule real fast, because both of y'all brought it up, and this is an absolute. And this is why we have the hope and despair as Aggie fans, and I know everybody's feeling it. I mean, we're playing right now. We're playing 4 of the top 10 ranked teams in all of college football. Plus, Auburn's ranked 16th. Arkansas is not. I don't think they're going to be terrible as they have been this last year. Mississippi State and Ole Miss always, for some reason, I don't understand it, but for some reason we always struggle against the Mississippi teams, and it's so incredibly frustrating. But let's run through the schedule real fast. Obviously, we're going to beat Texas State tomorrow. That's going to be great. I'm going to love that. But then week 2 against Clemson. How do you guys see that going?
The fact that it's away makes it even harder to have hope.
And it's Dabo's team.
The good news is their defensive line won't be as good this year.
That's fair.
They lost their whole starting 4.
So how do you feel about the Trevor Lawrence versus Kellen Mond battle?
Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in the nation.
I said, is that a battle?
Yeah, I guess bad wording. My bad, guys. Jeez. Well, maybe that's the frustrating thing about. And I'm kind of tying this into an AFC South thing, but that's the frustrating thing about Andrew Luck retiring now is the Colts could very well be one of the worst teams in the NFL. The year that Lawrence is coming out and going into the draft. So they could go from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck, have a couple of down years, and then go to freaking Lawrence, and that is absolutely frustrating. What is the best case scenario in y'all's minds for the Clemson game?
Keep it within 2 scores.
They're losing and keeping it within 2 scores?
Right.
Oof. I don't even know if that's doable. That's what's terrifying.
That's the best case scenario.
That's fair. I did say best case scenario. Cassidy, what's your best case scenario for Clemson?
I just don't want to get killed just because the whole argument last year about the pile-on and everything, I just feel like it's just going to get shattered. No one's going to care that we were good last year. It's going to look like a fluke.
So I'm going to ask both of you, counting in number of bricks, how much are you going to shit if Texas A&M beats Clemson in week 2?
All of the bricks.
All of the bricks. So,
I'm talking about what's his name? From the movie Blow, That Many Bricks.
Oh shit. That's a lot of bricks, man.
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, Pablo Escobar.
Stash.
Clemson, I'm all in, and nobody can talk me down.
If we beat Clemson, I'm going to go and have national champs tattooed on my ass cheek. Honestly.
I'm going to buy plane tickets.
Yeah.
What'll probably happen if we beat Clemson is we'll go on to beat Alabama, Georgia, and LSU as well, but lose to both Mississippi schools.
Well, we're going to lose to North Texas.
That would be the most Aggie thing ever to happen, to beat Clemson, to beat Auburn, then to beat Alabama, and then October 19th go in to Oxford and lose to Ole Miss. That would be the most Aggie thing to ever happen. So let's talk about some of those games. So let's take Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, LSU. Those 4 games. Are all 4 of those automatic losses to you guys? Because they are to me. Like, to me, I maybe the LSU game, but it's in Baton Rouge, and that's really freaking hard to play there. The only one of those that's at home is Alabama, but it's Alabama. So are those all 4 of those automatic losses to y'all?
I think LSU is the only one that isn't an automatic loss for me.
And the problem is it's probably still going to be a competitive game, right? So that's kind of like, at best, it's a 50-50.
Never not be.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. I mean,
I think it's best 75-25 LSU, but
really,
yeah.
Cassie, what do you think about that game?
Oh, the fact that it's in Louisiana makes me less, but they don't have anything that's that much like it factor from last year. Mm-hmm. So I don't see how it can't not be close again.
Grant Delpit.
Way I would go.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So is the Georgia's an automatic loss for you two?
I think
Georgia will be better than Alabama this year.
Oh, really? Just like overall record? So are you calling a Clemson Georgia national championship?
It'll depend on how the playoffs shake out. But I don't doubt it.
What 4 teams, if each of you, what 4 teams do y'all see in the college football playoff this year?
I have Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma.
Okay.
But I think Utah could sneak in there.
Utah?
With how weak the Pac-12 is.
Yeah. Oh, well, the Pac-12 is really, really weak. Cassie, who do you see in the college football playoff this year?
I was like, obviously I have Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia. And for the 4th spot, I don't want to put Oklahoma. I just don't think – I think Jalen Hurts is going to be good, but I don't think it's going to be the same spark as Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield were there. I don't know why. I just don't feel like they get lucky 3 times in a row. Right.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like it's hard to imagine that they would have 3 Heisman caliber quarterbacks in a row. I could see it happening, but it's hard to imagine all of that.
It's easier to against it.
Yeah. So my college football playoff, and man, I guess this is maybe just because of his time that he spent here in the city of Houston, but I really believe in this dude as a head coach. And this is going to piss off Aggies again. My college football playoff, I'm calling Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and Texas, because I see Texas being better than Oklahoma this year. They have a more established team. They're a little bit older, and Tom Herman's an incredible coach. And the Big 12's not that great. Like the Big 12's kind of in the same boat that the Pac-12 is, where if they have good teams but not great teams. It's not weak really, but it's not super strong. And I see Texas kind of maybe this being the year where they really, really buy into Tom Herman's culture and into his program, whether he kisses them on the cheek or not. Like I don't know why, but I just have a gut. I'm just going with my gut on this one. No logic involved. Just I have a gut feeling that Texas makes the college football playoffs.
Here's my issue with Tom Herman as a coach: is
He's
his
a
teams
liar?
are no, well, other than like his obvious character flaws.
Right.
His teams always play down to their level of competition. You look at last season, losing to Maryland, winning by 1 score against Tulsa, losing late in the season to an Oklahoma State team that wasn't any good. I mean, even going back to Houston, that year that they beat Oklahoma and then turn around and lose 2 or 3 games in the American Conference to SMU and Memphis and Navy.
Yep. I definitely remember that because we thought like, holy shit, they beat Oklahoma. Ooh, Houston's going to be able to do some crazy stuff. Like,
yeah,
Greg
the
Ward
problem
is good.
is like they were definitely a good team. They just always played to their level of competition, and that's followed Tom Herman to Texas.
Yeah, that I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that at all. Real fast before we go ahead and finish everything off, because I've kept you guys long enough, and I don't want to keep y'all too long tonight. Because Jay, I know he has to go to bed because he has a real job like an adult grown man.
Look, I have to be in the office at 8. It's fucking miserable. I'm not a fan of it either. So
I would just like to point out that whenever I was in the Air Force defending your freedom to complain about being in the office at 8, when I was stateside, not in the air, I had to be in the office at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I have no sympathy for you whatsoever. Anyway, I'm just kidding. So let's one final thing. I want to get y'all's record predictions on the Aggies. Cassidy, you go first because I'm not feeling too good. So I want to hear what you guys have to say before I give mine.
Too optimistic.
No, to be optimistic though. We need optimists. Optimists are a good thing. There are too many
Optimus Prime.
Yeah, exactly. There's too many negative realistic people. We need optimism.
We lose 4.
Lose 4? Just those 4 big games?
I think we win one of those and lose a cupcake game.
Oh, how painful would it be to like beat like Auburn or not Auburn, Clemson or Alabama, and then lose to like a not even one of the Mississippi teams, but like a UTSA
or like UNT.
Yeah, I see, and that's kind of I kind of feel the same way.
UNT isn't on the schedule
No,
until 2020.
No,
Oh,
yeah,
next year.
yeah.
Okay.
It's because it's Texas State and UTSA this year. But I kind of feel the same way, and I guess I'm gonna follow you up, and we're gonna make Jay wait because I feel like his isn't gonna be as optimistic as ours. But I feel like it's just 4 losses, for me, it's the 4 big ones, the 4 automatic losses. I do think this team is good enough. I have my questions about Kellen Mond, and I always have, and I always will. There are some times where he looks like he could easily be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in all of college football, and then there are some times where he looks like he could be one of the worst quarterbacks in the SEC. And it's all I think with him it's all confidence, and maybe he has that this year as a junior, as an upperclassman, having played the game for a while. But I really do feel like there's times where he gets mentally screwed up. He's got all the physical talent in the world. The guy can run, he can throw, but he gets in his own head and he takes too long to make decisions, or his accuracy gets off. But dude, when that guy is on point, he is on point, and the LSU game shows that. But I do love the talent that we have at wide receiver, like Jay brought up. Kendrick Rogers, I'm excited to see him. He's going to be a steal in the draft next year. The offensive line is great. And so, like, going into those big games, they're losses for me, but I think they're going to be harder fought than some of the other ones. But I do think the offense is just too good with Kellen Mond, with the receivers, with the offensive line. I think it's too good to lose to teams like Auburn and Ole Miss and Mississippi State and South Carolina. And maybe they do steal that LSU game away and they only have 3 losses. But I really think it's disappointing. I would much rather not have 4 losses, but the Aggies legitimately have the chance to be one of the best 3 or 4 loss teams that college football has ever seen. Because if their losses are against number 1 Clemson, number 2 Alabama, number 3 Georgia, and then they beat everybody else plus LSU, that might be the best 3-loss team that we've ever seen ever in college football. Jay, what's your prediction? What's your record prediction for the Aggies?
I'm going with 4 losses.
What are your 4?
Yeah, the big 4.
It's the big 4.
I'm on board with what you said.
Oh, geez. See, I was expecting something a little bit more realistic. Like, yeah, the big 4, and then they drop one that they shouldn't, and they lose 5, and it's kind of disappointing. But it's a good step with in the right direction for this team. But I don't know what to think.
Here's my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, Auburn didn't like Auburn. The Auburn game last year was terrible for us.
Mm-hmm.
We should have won that game.
I was there.
Yeah.
Mississippi State is trending down. Ole Miss is really kind of just a mess right now. Arkansas is even more of a mess right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the East, I mean, we're drawing Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a loss. South Carolina being our permanent cross-divisional rival, they're a team that can give us a scare, I think. Of the games outside of those big 4, I think South Carolina could be the scariest game on that list.
Really? Why?
I think when you look at just kind of the history, that's been a close game, even when it shouldn't, other than the 52-28 blowout the first time the two teams met in 2014. Mm-hmm. It's just a team that A&M has kind of struggled to put away. The game coming at home, it's not a game that people are going to necessarily get hyped for. So if you look at the schedule just as a team that could kind of be a trap game for A&M, I think South Carolina's that team.
I didn't think about it that way. That's absolutely fair. Even though it's at home, for some reason I always feel there's at least one game per year. You brought up Tom Herman's team's always kind of playing down to their opponent. There's always at least one game each year that I think is like it's a good team. It's an SEC team or another Power 5, but the Aggies are clearly better than them, and for some reason they play down to them at home, and it's incredibly fruiting. And I could see South Carolina being that team.
I think every team has those kind of moments, though.
Well,
even
that's
Alabama
fair.
Last year against the Citadel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. But I mean, I'm happy that we're all on board with like the 4. I mean, a 4-loss season's not necessarily exactly where we want them to be. That's not competing for the college football playoff. But I'll at least say this: I am very, very excited with the steps that were made. And Jay, we talked about this before when we were just talking or doing other 98 stuff. I'm really excited about, even if this year is like an 8-4 type of season, I'm really excited with the direction and the culture that Jimbo Fisher's building with this team and in that locker room. But what I really want to see is if this year's a 4-loss season, next year better only be 1 or 2, if that. I really want to see him take this culture and take this team and build it into what it can be. And he's getting the recruits for it. He's getting the team. That defense is incredibly young. I'm excited to see how they play, but they are really, really young. Really, honestly, kind of my standout, the guy that I'm really, really watching is Leon O'Neal. I want to see how he steps up to I mean, he had his moments last year, but being in his second year this year and doing all the talking that he does, I want to see him kind of step into it. But
he kind of has to.
He has to. He has to be. I mean, he has to be the leader of the secondary, and he's not the oldest guy on there. I know Charles Oliver and Miles Jones are there, but in my opinion, he's clearly the most talented. He has to step up.
I agree.
But anyway, all right. I appreciate you guys coming on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
for sure. We'll have to do it again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You think I'm not going to make you guys come on here, come on my fake radio show with me again? Cassidy, tell everybody where they can find you and what you're doing.
You can find me at Twitter at Cass McWha, that's MCWHA, and the Hat Media on Twitter, and that's where we will be writing and putting all our stuff out.
Jay, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter on a handle that's way too long. I'll just get Josh to retweet me after the show. And then you can also find my written materials as well as a little bit of video on Good Bull Hunting and Hat Media. Obviously, for your more A&M stuff, go to Good Bull Hunting. For everything else, go to Hat.
Hey, what's that new video series that you just started, Jay, for Good Bull Hunting?
So it's good plug here. Good plug. It's called Uncredentialed.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's going to be a very fun show where I do things to embarrass myself for your entertainment, but I also talk a little bit about Aggie football here and there.
What if the first video, y'all just released that, so you should definitely go check it out on YouTube. What happens if that first video gets to 500 likes?
I have to eat a pickle, and I fucking hate pickles.
What's your problem with pickle? You know what? If Cuppy Cup doesn't pick the biggest, there's these bagged pickles that are like flavored and they're massive and juicy. He needs to find the biggest pickle he's ever seen in his entire life and make you eat it.
You need a good concession stand pickle.
Oh,
I mean, it
yeah.
would be good content, but I'm not looking forward to it. So,
all right, well,
I don't think it's gonna get 500 likes. I mean, the video's at 162 right now.
We're gonna
It's
find
a challenge.
Yeah, challenge accepted. We're gonna find a way to get it there. If you're watching this, go find Uncredentialed episode 1, Good Bull Hunting. Go find that and just like it, because I want to see Jay throw up a pickle on video. That's what I want to see. But all right,
it would be good content.
You can follow me at Josh Beard Radio as usual. You can also go find me on Facebook.com/Josh Beard Radio, on Twitch at twitch.tv/Toofpete. That's TOOFPETE. And on YouTube, Josh Beard. If for some reason you were watching on Twitch or somewhere else, you can go find all my videos and all my clips. There will be more clips of this show that are going to be coming out from this, because there was some good content tonight, because I had 2 awesome guests who I appreciate very, very much. So we're going to have to do this again, guys. I appreciate y'all coming on. And for everybody watching, thank you very much.